Saw this coming. Welcome to the explainer. Literally throw your brackets in the trash right now because we just witnessed a seismic shock.
Australia 2, Turkey 0. Just let that sink in for a second. The 2026 World Cup officially has its first jaw-dropping upset. Now, coming into this, Turkey, ranked 29th, were the heavy favorites against 23rd ranked Australia. But, as this result beautifully proves, football is absolutely not played on paper.
Okay, let's dive into this. The siege, 30 shots to 0. Because Turkey came out absolutely flying. 59% possession from the very first whistle. They were suffocating the pitch, literally trapping Australia deep in their own half. And that early dominance led to this massive, staggering number, 30. 30 total shots for Turkey. It was just a relentless bombardment from every conceivable angle. But here's the number that completely defies belief. 0. Absolutely 0 goals. It was like an offensive masterclass hitting a literal brick wall. And this brilliantly illustrates the timeline of that pressure. 3rd minute, Calhanoglu forces a save. 7th minute, Arda Guler goes agonizingly wide. It was just wave after wave after wave of intense Turkish attacks. Which brings us to the turning point, the phenom. Completely, and I mean completely against the run of play. Enter Nestoria Rankunda, 19 years old. He picks up the ball, drives aggressively through the lines, and finishes with clinical, cold-blooded perfection. With that strike, he etches his name into history as Australia's youngest ever World Cup goalscorer. And you could just see the sheer stun, the utter disbelief on the Turkish bench. The question hanging in that stadium air was simply, how? Of course, Turkey kept pushing. You've got Real Madrid's Arda Guler, Serie A standout Calhanoglu having chance after chance. The pedigree was undeniable, but man, that Australian defense absolutely refused to break. And then came the killer blow. Connor Metcalf slots home the second goal. 2-0. Game over. It was the ultimate ruthless smash-and-grab victory. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is the final stats. It's a complete statistical shock. Just look at this stark contrast. Turkey unleashed 30 shots. Australia? They managed just 9. It is a mind-bending final picture. So, the crucial point is, Australia were outshot by more than 3-1. 3-1. And yet they're the ones walking away with all the glory. Which brings us to the post-match drama. Answered on the pitch. See, right before kickoff, the Turkish captain publicly threw down the gauntlet, saying, "We have a more talented and stronger team." Talk about overconfidence, right? The stage was totally set for a clash of egos. But post-match, when 19-year-old Kunda was asked about his motivation, he just smiled this cold-blooded smile and said, "We answered on the pitch." Honestly, that is the sheer, unscripted beauty of football. Let's move on and see how this builds for the rest of the group stage follow. Because for the favorites, it's a disaster. Turkey is sitting rock bottom with 0 points. Their path to the round of 32 just got extremely complicated. They are going to need some very specific results and a whole lot of wins to survive this. But on the flip side, utter jubilation. This is Australia's best World Cup start since 2006. Exactly 20 years later, the Socceroos are out here shocking the globe all over again. And seriously, remember the name Nestory Irankunda. At just 19 years old, this kid didn't just play a game today, he fearlessly announced himself to the entire world on the biggest stage imaginable. This is World Cup 2026, guys. Heart-stopping drama, unimaginable upsets. So who is going to shock the world next? Make sure you subscribe to this explainer right now, because we are going to be breaking down every single massive moment as it happens.